If you ask anyone what they think of the Australian property market, the odds are they're going to tell you prices are falling. And there's even some data to back that up, right? I mean, if you look at this data from CoreLogic and just look at the average of how much our biggest capital cities have fallen, you can see that property prices have fallen 8.8%. And as a result of this data, combined with all the scary headlines that you're probably seeing right now, almost everyone will say that property prices are falling, there's a crash about to happen, and that anyone who tells you otherwise is crazy. But that's exactly what I'm about to show you right now. Hi, my name's Nero, and I am someone who's so confident that property prices will not crash that I'm personally in the process of growing my own property portfolio by about $2 million. So let me explain what's fueling this high level of confidence that I have. First of all, let's have a look at exactly what it is that causes property prices to crash. And essentially, there's one reason, right? Property prices crash, especially nationwide, because there is an avalanche of mortgage holders who can no longer afford their mortgage for whatever reason. Sometimes it might be because unemployment is high, other times it might be because interest rates are high. Whatever the reason, there's an avalanche of mortgage holders who can no longer afford their mortgages and they have to dump their property, bringing property prices down. So with interest rates rising, the belief that many people have is that there'll be lots of mortgage holders who are going to have to sell their property because sadly they won't be in a position to afford their mortgages at these new higher rates. And the fact is, that's true. There will be mortgage holders who are in a position where they're in financial stress and have to potentially fire sell their home. And it's not going to be one or two people. No, it's going to be tens of thousands of people. But is that enough to crash the Australian property market? The doomsday folk will say, yes, absolutely. They'll even point to the fixed rate mortgage cliff, this so-called cliff, this term that has been coined in the media, where apparently so many naive mortgage holders have gone and got these really ultra low fixed rates, and now those fixed rates are expiring and their interest rates are going to be rising and they're not going to be in a position to be able to afford their home and they're going to dump property. Now, I did a whole episode on this a couple of weeks ago, so definitely go and check it out. But essentially, I went through a detailed analysis of why, despite the fact that we are going to have tens of thousands of people who are in a position where they may not be able to afford their mortgage, it's going to be a bare blip on the radar and will have a virtually negligible impact on the market. But since I made that episode, new data, new information has come to light that is very, very relevant. You see, even if some people do go into mortgage stress, just like the banks gave everyone payment holidays during COVID in 2020, they are going to go to great lengths and will come up with some ideas and schemes that are going to surprise you and me to allow as many people as possible to be able to stay in their home and give them time to get back on track with their mortgages. I mean, APRA, the Australian Prudential Regulatory Authority, will allow them to do this, and the bank's profits will allow them to do this. I mean, CBA just posted a record half-year profit of $5.2 billion. And in fact, both the CBA CEO and the Westpac CEO came out in mid-February to confirm this. They are going to look at extending loan terms, creating payment holidays, allowing interest-only payments, cutting rates, and doing whatever they can to allow the borrower, the mortgage holder, to have as much time as possible. So you're just not going to see this issue play out in anywhere nearly as badly as what the media is playing it up. But even if there is mortgage stress, here's what I can tell you. It's not going to be nationwide. It's going to be confined to certain pockets around Australia. And primarily, these pockets are going to be markets that you as an investor probably wouldn't want to invest in anyway, right? And specifically, I'm talking about markets and suburbs where there's a lot of high density units or outer areas in some cities where there is an excess glut of land and house and land packages being sold and bought. But it's not going to be a nationwide issue. Right now, if I go to realestate.com.au and I do a search on Queensland, and then when the filter section come up, I type in the word mortgagee, what we'll see is right now in late February as I record this, there are 5 results in total listed, but 2 of them are already under offer, which means there's only 3 results currently for mortgagee sales all throughout Queensland. In New South Wales, there are currently 9 results listed under mortgagee sales. Victoria has 6 listed under mortgagee, but 2 are already sold. So that means for the entire state of Victoria, there are currently only 4 properties that are mortgagee listings. South Australia only has 4 listings, with 1 of them already sold. So that leaves only 3 more properties that are mortgagee sales. Western Australia currently has 9 listings as mortgagee sales, but 1's already sold, so that leaves 8 remaining for the entire state of Western Australia. Therefore, it really doesn't look like we're going to have many homeowners or mortgage holders having to dump their properties. So if that's the case, then how can property prices crash? But the argument doesn't stop there. We now need to look at the supply issues that we currently have in Australia. You see, because 3 years ago, there were around about 339,000 properties for sale out of 10 million households in Australia. Now, that was considered too low at the time. But right now, the number's even lower. There are only 241,701 properties for sale as I record this. That's only about 2.2% of the entire number of households we have in Australia. That is ridiculously low. So what about new builds? Well, according to this article from the Australian Financial Review, the number of standalone houses starting construction is set to plummet by 21% this year and to their lowest level in a decade next year, according to HIA forecasts and HIA's Housing Industry Association. By 2024, housing starts are forecast to fall to 96,310, the first time the annual tally is expected to dip below 100,000 in more than 10 years. So right now we have the lowest number of properties available for sale in recent history, and the number of properties being built is at its lowest level in a decade. And you can see further proof of this from the data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, which shows that the number of new dwellings being built has been on a swift downturn since late 2021. The fact is we're just not building enough homes in Australia, and this is not just impacting people who want to buy properties, it's also impacting people who want to rent. Right now, there are approximately 8 million Australians who live in the 3.3 million rental properties we have nationwide. But out of the 3.3 million, if any of the tenants want to move or change houses and move from one rental property to another for whatever reason, they only have 31,924 dwellings to choose from. That's out of 3 million. So that's a vacancy rate nationwide of about 1%. It's no wonder then that there are so many areas around Australia where the moment a property comes up for rent for a new tenant, they're queuing out the door and down the street. We just don't have enough properties. And then the federal government is forecasting another 200,000 permanent overseas migrants plus 500,000 overseas students to come to Australia in the next year alone. Where are they all going to live? Clearly, we just don't have enough supply in Australia. We don't have enough properties in Australia. Demand is far outstripping supply. And this is only going to continue and probably get worse. So as long as demand outstrips supply, property prices are not going to crash. But it probably makes you wonder, with all this data I've just presented, the fact that demand is outstripping supply, why aren't prices rising already? Well, in my next episode, I'll talk about exactly why I believe certain pockets around Australia have already turned the market and why there's some really great opportunities for property investors. But to sum up, when you consider there aren't enough houses right now for people in Australia to live in, whether it's to rent, whether it's to buy and own, when you realize that the high interest rates are not affecting everyone around the country equally, and when you consider that because rents are rising so much, there are many tenants who are sick of paying such high rents and are now looking to buy, even if they have to move out of the area that they live in, it certainly seems that there is no reason for pessimism, and a property crash is almost certainly not going to happen in 2023 or in the years coming. In fact, I'd go so far to say that we're in the proverbial calm before the storm. A storm that causes property prices to rise, driven by demand over supply. No, I don't think property prices will rise as fast as they did post-COVID. But there's certainly an opportunity for property investors to create some long-term wealth. The economic fundamentals all point towards it. And that's why I'm personally buying as aggressively as I can, because I really think that 2023, especially the first half, is a great buying window for you to get a great deal and then ride the wave of capital growth. This is not financial advice. I don't know your personal circumstances. I'm just sharing with you what I'm doing. I'm buying aggressively. I know many of our buyer's agency clients have reached out to me to buy property number 2 and property number 3. We've had a number of clients reach out to buy their first property because more and more investors are seeing the opportunity. They're realizing that the doom and gloom is just not going to transpire, and the longer they wait, the more they're going to miss out on. Hi, it's Nero here again, and thanks so much for watching. If you like what you saw and you're looking for a proven recipe, a blueprint on how to build a property portfolio that gives you passive income, then click the link below this video and get a copy of my book, Wake Up Wealthier, How to Build a Property Portfolio that pays you an income each and every month. Okay, when you click the link and you download your book, you can get both the digital version and the audio version in case you don't like reading. All right, so I used to sell this book for $49, but right now I'm making it totally free. Why? Because I want more people to get this information, and I know that a segment of you will then like what you see in the book and choose to reach out to find out more about our services. But even if you don't, if you're serious about building a property portfolio that pays your passive income, then you really want to get my book, Wake Up Wealthier. It contains the secrets that I have fine-tuned over the last 19 years. It's totally free for a limited time. Click the link below.